morning. Welcome to the final stretch run of January.
Unbelievable.
On Monday, when the screen is adorned with somebody who has long hair and is beautiful.
Welcome back, Lori.
I feel like it's been ages. It was only we missed 1 week because of the holiday. It feels like forever. It's good to be back.
It does feel like forever. Shay, do you have pictures from the tribe? Did we have weekend updates from everybody?
I got everybody's updates.
Let's roll. Let's start with what happened in the weekend. You can start with me. Congratulations to my friend Carlos Suarez, who put on an amazing event called Sea Glass. It was right on the beach. We went Friday night, and it's a celebration of rosé and good food. And then we wound up the weekend. If you do not know about Southport, you are missing out. Sat and ate some clams. And while I normally would have been rocking down some beers, I went with Perrier.
Look at you staying disciplined.
Staying disciplined, man. How about you guys?
I went down to Key Biscayne this weekend. We were there for the Dominoes for Education event, which supported the Miami-Dade College and the Rising Black Scholars Fund, which is unbelievable. They had students there who have been a part of the program that are going on and doing amazing things. So it was great people, great food. There was dominoes being played. We had a blast playing some dominoes, Gabby and I. So it was a good time. And then Sunday was great. I mean, yesterday was football. You know, I'm embarrassed for the Dallas Cowboys offensive staff. That was pretty embarrassing, but glad to watch and enjoy and get to wake up on Monday and know that those games have no effect on my life, and I get to come back to doing what I love to do.
Absolutely. Miss Lori?
Key. This was a weekend of, I would say, oops, just dropped my phone. This was a weekend of friendship, family. So I think started out with going to see Tina with some very, very close friends, my Spice Rock, just some couple of work things, our board, right? The relationships and the friendships that I have there. And then a special wedding for Nicole, who you guys know, I think. And it was just, Nicole's like another daughter, and the friendships between her and the family. And so it was all good.
If you remember correctly, Nicole worked for us.
I thought so for a little while after she came from LB, right?
No.
My mom and Jim were at Tina, by the way. Did you like it?
Loved it.
Yeah, I heard it was really good. I'm a little disappointed that I chose not to go.
It's funny. Helen and I were talking about it yesterday, and there's so many of these tribute bands and all that kind of stuff that I want to see the real deal, but I guess you do have a shot.
But Tina is not a concert of
it's a story.
It's a story of her life,
right?
And there's a lot to that story, which is a little bit sad, but the music was fantastic.
There was a movie that was done. Angela Bassett plays her.
She crushed it,
and that was an amazing movie about her and Ike Turner and. What a career she's had. What incredible stuff. So lots of good stuff. If you have a story, share it in the chat. Let us know what you did this weekend. We got a great show today. If you missed Friday, stay tuned right after the break here, because we are going to be talking about Scott McGregor. Unbelievable show on Friday. And then Lori takes the reins, and she's got a topic she wants to share, an author, and this is the best part. Take it away, Lori. Shay, wake us up.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up. Come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say.
First things first, they found him.
Unbelievable.
I saw your note. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Unbelievable how great it is. But we've been doing this a little bit north of 2 years. We've been doing this show, and we get nice recognition. People love it. The Huddle is a great community. Mark, did we get any kind of response like we got on Friday?
No, I mean, so many people reached out with just like, guys, that was the best show, and you guys navigated that conversation so well. And I was just really glad that Scott was so transparent and offered up so many nuggets about how he's dealt with his scenarios within his family. And then to get the text from him the next day that they found him and that there was hope, I was just like, I was just in shock. I mean, that prayer works. You've seen it work over and over and over, but just the power of people putting thought and energy behind something like that, and then seeing the result happen so fast was absolutely incredible.
Lori, you were part of the Huddle on Friday. What was your thoughts as somebody listening to the story? And I especially ask you because you've experienced some of that in your life.
Yeah, I think when I was listening to him, I actually was thinking about a lot of the things that are in the book, and how you get through it, because we're all going to face something, right? And some things are going to be worse than others. But they all affect us in some way. And I just thought I could so relate to how he was handling it. And you have to compartmentalize sometimes. And so I was totally just like a magnet to everything he was saying. For me, it was relatable.
Scott, we are actually in the midst of talking about you, the power of that show. And I know that you shared it with your audience, and the inbound recognition that we received for actually doing it and asking the questions pales in comparison to you. And I'm going to own that forever. Like anybody, of a client or friend that's going through a tough time, watch this, dude. Just watch this and call me afterwards, because the display of resilience and persistence and, I'm not a victim. I'm gonna, I got to do something. That was amazing. I mean, it was incredible. It was a life-altering event for me. Mark, I was super proud of you. The questions you asked, when you asked the questions about guilt, woo! I was like,
I was glad Scott answered. It was just, it was really, really awesome. And so for those of you that are listening today, or that, missed Friday's episode, it's been shared a few times. I know Scott shared the link yesterday, but that is one to bookmark, to save, and to keep in your archives, because anytime that I think we handle adversity or some things, some obstacles pop up, it's a great one to go back and listen to be reminded of how you should help yourself get through it.
And the final takeaway, at least for me, is, you talk about people who are wealthy. I think, Scott proved his wealth, the community he's built, the way people feel about him is just magical. And I'm thrilled that I was that person 10 years ago that said, this is a special dude. This is a guy that's different. I'm going to hop on a plane and go have lunch with him. And we have supported each other. And, you really want to test your litmus test of, if your life is successful, look at the people around you, man. Just, it really is, that pure validation. So thank you for everything. I'm so thrilled that you found your son, and we will continue to pray for his recovery and, Godspeed. So today is Lori's mic. We're going to give it to her. I created some some walk-up music for her. That's going to be fun. So let's go to the Spin Doctors.
Nobody at the back door, but throw my lounge out.
Good
the
song.
nostalgia that comes from the song and from the NFL matchups that have been happening over the past weekend, like watching the Cowboys play the Niners and watching the Giants play the Eagles. And it's just like, and then that song, like you're taking me back to early 90s, mid 90s, like great
When
time.
Lori's around, little Miss Lori can't be
Yeah.
wrong. So let's start out with a little bit of housekeeping. Share what's happening Saturday night, which is one of JA's biggest events.
I'd be honored to. So one of our big events, JA Uncorked. It is, you will not know you are at a charity nonprofit event. It is nothing but food, wine, and a party at the end. That's hosted by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. It's just a great night. 30 top restaurants, all kinds of spirits, martini bars, champagne bars, wine, everything you can imagine. And then the big party over in Finance Park. So it'll be 800 or 900 people. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, I think there are really literally only a few left. So
perfect party for me. Wine, booze, just fits right into my lifestyle today. So anyway, it is a cannot miss event. It's fantastic. The people are all the who's who. So make sure if you have not gotten your tickets, you do that. So Lori and I were talking about the shape of the Monday show, and we want her to have a voice. And I said, what do you want to talk about? She created a book club for her company, which is great for JA. And one of the authors that she is she favorites is Mark Miller. So Lori, it's your show.
yeah, so I started reading Mark Miller. It was about 3 years ago. It was a Christmas holiday. I was home for 2 weeks and I had all these amazing plans. I was going to clean the garage, do all these things. And I started to read one of his books that I had read years ago and used in the senior executive course for Leadership Broward. And that was The Secret of Great Leaders. And since then, Mark has put out several books. And so I ordered them and I did none of those other things I was going to do, but was basically in my pajamas for 2 weeks reading Mark Miller books, right? And I read all 8. Well, not about a year or so ago, he came out with another book called Smart Leadership. But what I love about his books, if you haven't read them, is he simplifies leadership and he makes it so easy to understand what we need to do and how to work on it. And it makes you conscious of these things. And so so every book has like an acronym, right? The heart of leadership. So HEART stands for different things, HEART. So we did 3 books at our company. And what I saw was such a shift in mindset from managing to leading. And in the very first book we did, it was a Great Leaders Grow, GROW was the acronym. The people on our team said, page 27, never forget it. Well, we thought you were the leader of the organization. You're the CEO. And all of a sudden, the shift from, no, she's the leader to we're the leaders, right, was tremendous. And then it just continued. But this book I thought was kind of interesting. And some of it is just put in a different way from some of the other books. But again, it was really good to get that, that different perspective, but same perspective. And so he talks about 4 things: confront reality, grow capacity, fuel curiosity, and create change. And so we can do this a number of ways. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff under that. And how do you do those things? And so for confront reality, thought I'd kind of throw it out to you guys, right? What does that mean to you?
What's interesting is that I think knowing that most people are delusional, that, and I'm being, honest, is that, I think when people ask me about leadership, I go, the first thing is you got to be self-aware. You have to understand how you're showing up in other people's lives because that's their reality. And if you don't face that, and it happens all the time. Oh, well, I'm a nice boss and no, you're not. You're a prick. You're putting people in places where they are uncomfortable. And the more you face that reality. And so I think it's true of everything in life. If you're willing to really unpack it and see the realness, that's where change comes from. So
And
my
I
Yeah.
love the self-awareness piece is huge. And I think understanding your own bias as well. Like to
Yeah,
me,
oh, wow.
confronting reality is confronting the fact that my lens and the way I view or what I see may not be reality, because I deal with organizations all the time that like they have a vision for what they want somebody to do and who they want them to be. The reality is that your vision of what you want for that person is not reality, and it's never going to be reality because you've offered them opportunity after opportunity to try to be that. So understanding that you may have a bias for somebody because of relationship, or you may have a bias to somebody because of their previous experience or whatever it is, and being able to recognize your bias and then navigate decision making around that, I think is really important in terms of confronting reality.
Mark,
Yeah, and he talks about blind spots, right?
Yeah.
We don't always know what our blind spots are, or as you said, our biases. And so he talks a lot about strategy, and that's what I love about his books. He makes it simple. He gives you simple things to do in order to start addressing some of the things. When he talks about looking at things through fresh eyes, and you guys always talk about having a personal, board of directors.
Yep.
Ask them questions. Get the truth from them, because they've got a whole different perspective than you do, right?
Here's another angle on it. Here's another angle on it is that when Mark talked about biases, and I, think back to when I was a leader, you have inherent favorites. You just do. There's favoritism. That's what human nature is. You lean towards something, and you could definitely be blind to that and be making decisions that are not in their best interest because they're your favorite, or not the best interest of the rest of the crowd. So the blind spot comment is so on point, because that's not something you can do by yourself. You need someone to point that out.
It's a takeaway from Friday, like hearing Scott talk about the reality of who his son was and not have just blind love and faith for him, but dealing with the reality that his son is an addict and his son has mental health issues. And those are realities that you can't just wash away or ignore. He's got to address those realities all of the time in order to make the best decisions possible. And I think that's the hardest one. You talk about favorites. Do you have more of a favorite than your children, than the people that you brought into the world? So being able to navigate that favoritism is the ultimate level of being able to.
Clearly, I love Jake more than you. You know that.
Yes, the baby.
I knew, Mark, you set yourself up for that one. I saw that coming a mile away. But so, yeah, and I agree. And I think, Steve, you said about self-awareness, we think it's easy, but I think there's a lot of people that are not self-aware about themselves, about their teams, about their organizations, right? So this is not just about you. The second thing he talks about is growing capacity, right? We talk about this stuff. You guys talk about it all the time, right? Like making time to lead. So you always talk about time management, right? What capacity from a time perspective you have, right, to lead and to be the best you, and and meet the demands and the challenges, right, of time, of the future, of what's going on in the world. And so I love that, and that's a lot about what you talk about, is creating, right, looking at that calendar. What's really important for you to be involved in, for you to be working on, leveraging technology, right, creating margin, the time to think.
Yeah.
Right? He talks about one day a month where he has nothing on the calendar and he goes to a library and he just thinks and vision, right? Works on vision and that sort of thing. So
It's
making
interesting
time.
about that one, David Aarons, who is a fan of the Huddle in Cincinnati, and I love working with him. He belongs to a club where they make space for CEOs to go and spend the day like a mini retreat. They serve them food, and but it is an isolation chamber, so to speak, to really get in touch with what's going on. So I think that one's a beauty.
I like the idea of growing capacity within your team too, right? Like I love talking about it in terms of how do I grow capacity for myself, but then how do you grow capacity for others? Because that to me is always what creates a high performance organization, is how well can those people operate? How much capacity does the team have when you're not involved, when you're not there, or when a key piece goes down? And the only way to be able to create that capacity is to be able to give people the information and the freedom to make decisions. And so the more you offer information to people, the more you challenge them to make their own decisions, the more capacity they develop in order to be able to operate without you, which is really what scale is, or what is working yourself out of the business so that you can work on the business more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Mark, you're pretty good at this. Maybe you should do this for a living.
Maybe I'll try it.
Right. Now, the third thing is something that I work on constantly, and that's fuel curiosity, right? And I think, and I truly believe what he said, curiosity is how we stay relevant, right? Because if we're not curious about how we can do things better, where we should be going, all of those things, I think we do stay stagnant. But it's really about asking questions. It's easy for strong people like us to just fix it, give you the answer. But when we ask questions, right, we open up a world of opportunities and ideas. And so that is something I know I constantly work on. Instead of jumping in and giving the answer, especially to our team, I really challenge myself to ask questions. And he gives some amazing questions in the book for all different topics. Right?
This curiosity thing, I wrote about it and said in my presentations, insatiable curiosity is the number one skill set for me. That has dictated my career because I just want to know to such a degree that when I had the time, I invested the time. I was just curious about LinkedIn. I was like, what is this thing? It's recruiting, and I'm recruiting it. I just dove in because I was curious, had no idea what the other end was. And so there's a real-time example of the more curious you are, the more knowledge you gain, the closer you get to picking a direction that you would have never done in the first place.
Yeah, I talk about it all the time when you're talking about getting to a root cause problem, or most leaders are solving symptoms, not problems. They're dealing with the symptoms of whatever the actual thing that's causing all of the issues are. So Simon Sinek made a career off of the word why, and he always relates it back to understanding what the individual's why is, or knowing what your why is. But I just think using the word why instead of jumping to a conclusion or immediately trying to solve the problem, if somebody didn't do something that you were expecting them to do, the best thing you can do in that situation is just simply ask them why. Hey, why did you do that? Right? Or if somebody is doing something really well, like I love when people are like, this person is killing it in our organization. And I'm like, great, what are they doing? And they're like, I have no idea. What? What do you mean you don't know what they're doing?
Think about children. How many times do our children say, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? I mean, you give them an answer and they want to know more. They want to know why, right?
And it can be annoying, but I think understanding how to leverage it in a coaching relationship to understand why people make decisions, where the miscommunications are, or what's causing people to have success can help you navigate problems and steer the organization so much faster.
We are way over time, folks. Do we have one more? You want to bring it in?
One more. I'm just going to bring it in. This last one is create change, impact positive change, right? Learning from mistakes, taking risks. Small risks, strategic risks, but got to take risks, right? Creating that vision and updating your toolkit. So I highly recommend not only this one.
Stay on that one, Lori.
Okay.
Update your toolkit.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of our whole business is modernize your approach. You use the shit that's 50 years old, you're going to get old results. So, that one's a beauty that was tucked in way at the bottom. But if you modernize or update your toolkit, you will get different results.
Exactly. So I absolutely highly recommend this one. His books are fast reading. This is probably the thickest one of all of them. Most of them are 100 to 120 pages, and you can read them in an hour and a half to 2 hours, but you will get so much out of them. I go back to them constantly. There are workbooks that go with them. I know I'm a big Mark Miller fan, so I don't mean to promote one person, but I think he's awesome. So
thank you. This is perfect for you to come to the Huddle each Monday and bring us something that's
Oh,
random.
gosh.
Lori's
Now you're
book
giving
club.
me more work.
It's Lori's book club.
It's Lori's. It's just fantastic because Mark Nudelberg, was that on your radar?
No, not
No,
Mark
my-
Miller nor his books were on my radar. So it was good stuff.
This is how you learn. You listen. What are other people reading? You know, Keith Costello sent me a book because everybody's using KPIs, and the book he sent me is all about some other metric. Hold on one second. I will share it with you.
What
Well,
happened
while
to
he,
being way over?
I don't know, but while he walked away, I just wanted to tell you.
Look at that.
Oh yeah, measure what matters. Great one.
Unbelievable, man.
Great one.
This is, let's just keep up in conversation. So make it a great Monday. Make it a great week. I'm on the road this week. I'll be speaking in Orlando, and I'm speaking in South Carolina next week. Here we go.
Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to